Every day we are given a chance to succeed, to accomplish our own life goals. And that is where the beauty of life lies, to be able to define one's own personal desires based on our own particular tastes and values. It is within this self-built structure that we can learn to achieve what we truly desire out of life. We only have one life, and yet we are seemingly distracted by all of what life has to offer. It's highly important that we do not lose sight of our ambitions. For example, let's do some math. There are 1,440 minutes in a day. We spend roughly 8 hours a day sleeping, or 480 minutes. That is already a third of the day set aside for restorative purposes. In addition, most of us don't tend to completely fall in line with the average sleep cycle. Some of us may require less or more sleep depending on our individualized lifestyles. What this ultimately leaves us with is 960 minutes or 16 hours of time left. Moreover, let's assume you are a normal, average, hard-working person that loves their job, a career you've always wanted to work at, and it's perfect because you clock in and out for an exact 8 hours every day, no overtime included. Well, now what does that leave you with? We already did the math on the amount of sleep you get per day, which is roughly 8 hours. And that career takes about 8 hours of your day. Now we are left with the final 8 hours. Within these 8 hours should be paramount to what you want to accomplish in life. 480 minutes. What you've ultimately been working and training your whole life for. That's what all your life's work should amount to. It's to prove to yourself that you deserve exactly what you worked so hard for. It is within the confines of these 480 minutes that you can define yourself, that you can take the time to fully figure yourself out, to sort out your personal problems in life, to give direction to yourself in life, to find love, peace, and happiness wherever you may roam, to also experience sadness, pain, and discomfort upon chance. It's not to say you won't experience any other emotion during or beyond these 8 hours. That would be ludicrous and not within the human experience, but rather, during these 8 hours is when you must find yourself. It is the place where we can learn to be comfortable with ourselves, to juxtapose our choices that we make daily in accordance to our own personal wishes and values, and to constantly adapt and change them when necessary. As when we learn to eventually outgrow our old ways in lieu of adopting new habits and processes, we present ourselves with conditions and situations that we must overcome. Oftentimes, those very circumstances are ushered not from our own accord, but from a universal magnetism that collects at the center of our conscious being. In a way, we attract what we need in this life, be it in a form or degree that we habitually signal to higher powers that may be, so that they may respond accordingly and with just reasoning. It is an eternal beck and call. Are you going to pick up the phone and answer? What we choose to do within these 8 hours should be intimate to who we are, to who we want to be, an ever-changing canvas, and that we are the artist, forever the marble, and the sculptor, envisioning what it means to be our true selves, imagining a life worth living, and taking the proper and necessary steps in order to achieve those aspirations. We have choices every day that we make, the smallest ones that may leave an impact far greater than what we initially envisioned. Those 480 minutes grant us the ability of insight. That's if we choose to utilize it in that way. And if we do, we can learn to eventually master ourselves in our thoughts. Ultimately, in that sense, we can manage to guide ourselves to a world that we've conceptualized over and over, time immemorial, ad infinitum, especially with repeated effort to construct a life that is definitely worth living, a life that we can all be proud of, a life that is worth sharing amongst friends and family, and to generate long-lasting positive memories to cherish in our private sanctuaries that we call our minds. This hidden palace that can only be accessed by us, and where visitors may come to enjoy the splendors that we have fabricated, if we allow them, that is. These 480 minutes are nothing but solidified proof to ourselves that whatever we put our mind and willpower to, that is where our objective lies, and that we understand life is nothing but a journey, a transformation of constant states of existence. To deny oneself the pleasure of experiencing life and all that it has to offer, it is an unforgivable act. To truly encounter ourselves in the most candid way possible, we must open ourselves up to possibilities and conditions that arise. Learn that these things happen in a natural and inherent way. Our cognition mustn't fail, as it wasn't meant to fail, it was meant to endure, and so we must tame it and teach it. We are, after all, masters of conquering. We are all creators in the system, owning power and authority over all that resides in our domain. So what you choose to spend those precious 8 hours on is entirely up to you, because what kind of life is it that we lack jurisdiction over our own actions? Certainly doesn't sound like a fulfilling existence to simply occupy space on this planet, to inhabit it without purpose, to just survive without actually having lived. What seems more feasible in this instance is that you are just an empty vessel without purpose, but that is entirely untrue. You are a human being. You are the universe experiencing itself. You are space dust, cosmological happening that develop consciousness. It isn't without coincidence that you are breathing the same air that the dinosaurs that inhabited the planet once did. You are a product of something far greater, beyond your already substantial intellect. You are the very essence of what you choose to be, because you willed for this to happen. This is what you must remember. This is what you were made for. Eminence defined, notability within one's own scope of skills, a superior being to oneself, but when compared to the grand scale of the universe, you are ultimately a reflection of it. 480 minutes. Distinguish yourself amongst others, and you will most certainly be rewarded by the fruit of your labor. Some people live as if they aren't going to pass away someday, revisiting and reinstating old routines and norms, without the knowledge that they were meant to flow with time, and that they aren't truly limitless. This is ego's downfall. So make do with what is already in front of you. It's already been there. It's always been there. It's up to you to transmute that energy and see that 480 minutes is not plenty of time by itself. But when we consider that the average human may live up to 75 years in the current day, that may seem like a whole lot of time, when in reality, we are just a blip in the universe's timeline, as 75 years in minutes is 39,420,000 minutes long. And again, to re-emphasize the point that this may seem like a large amount of time, relatively speaking, in human terms, it is. But if we were to take that number and crunch it into even smaller bits, a full year in the Julian calendar is 525,600 minutes long. That 480 minutes added up each day for a full year is 175,200 minutes. That is 175,200 minutes spent resting and sleeping away a year. That is 175,200 minutes to dedicate oneself to a career path in life. And lastly, and most importantly, that leaves us with 175,200 minutes a year to truly conduct oneself in such a way that by the end of our lives, we can say we lived a satisfying life. This journey is far too short to truly experience everything you want to. So take the time and reflect on what matters the most. Go out and seize the day. You only have a third of it left. Or better yet, you have a third of your life left to truly live.